I told Coach Staley the other day, I was like, hey, if I'm scoring, I got to score from the 3-point line. Like no layups, so I got to get in, make somebody miss, make a play.
We got a lot of questions into the email inbox. We're not going to sit here and read every single one of them that were concerned about you being underutilized, concerned about your usage. And this is kind of the funny thing with fantasy, and I think this is a little good and bad, is that as fantasy players, especially sharp fantasy players, are so concerned about the process of things, which matters, right? Because you look at the end result in like a PPR format, you freaking crushed it because you got like 9 catches for 55 yards, right? But there's a lot of questions about like you kind of mixing in with Josh Kelly and Sony Michel, maybe a little more than people were expected. There's a lot of questions about the goal line usage and, you getting used down in the red zone. So Austin, I wanted to give you a chance to, kind of speak on the first 2 weeks and how maybe some of the usage has been different for you and maybe what we can expect going forward.
There's definitely been some switch up from last year. I think that's for sure. Specifically on like the 1 or 2 yard line, right? I haven't had many of those reps. Not saying I haven't had any, because I definitely had a few in the first game against the Raiders. But it's been Sony Michel and Joshua Kelly that have taken those types of snaps. I told Coach Staley the other day, I was like, hey, if I'm scoring, I got to score from the 3-point line. Like no layups, so I got to get in, make somebody miss, make a play. And then something that just concerns me that I'm really aware of is just my rushing average and making sure I'm capitalizing that. And so I'm absolutely on that, trying to pick that up, because that's unacceptable to myself as far as what I'm doing, because I feel like my O-line is doing a good job. And so when that's the case, especially when we're getting too high the entire game and it's a light box, we got to be able to gash them. We should be running the ball over them. And it comes down to me making one more guy miss, crossing someone's face or stiff arm and breaking the tackle. But as far as my usage, like what last game I had like 20 something touches. So my usage it's definitely there. It's definitely there. It might not be the same as what it was last year, but I don't think it's a case where we can say like, oh, it's for the entire season, right? We've only played 2 games. And so we've only seen a certain amount of scenarios, and we've only been in a certain amount of like goal line scenarios. We haven't put everything in as far as our red zone packages and stuff like that, kind of evolve it as it goes. And so I think I'll become more of a factor down in the red zone as we continue to move along in the season, especially with Keenan being out, with seeing when he's coming back with his hamstring. So I'm gonna have to pick it up, honestly, because he's one of our go-tos anywhere on the field, especially in the red zone and on third downs. And so I think I'm going to be utilized more because he is out. And I think it was evident last game, had 9 catches, and so like Jay Herb's throwing me the ball more, because Keenan's down. So it almost is more concentrated between Mike Williams and Gerald Everett and me, right? Those are where the balls are, for the most part, are going. And so right now it's too early, I would say, to say, oh, I'm getting underused or anything, because I did have 20-something touches. So if you're asking me, that's a full game. My body felt a full game last time. And so it comes down to just me. I have to get in the end zone. That's what it is.
Right.
I didn't get in the end zone. And so that makes my fantasy performance not look as great, right? Because instead of scoring 20 points, I'm scoring 13. So it's like, where are these 20-point games? Well, last year I was getting in the end zone. So this year I got to make another guy miss. I got to capitalize on my opportunities. Trust me, I'm aware that I'm not in the end zone and I'm not being as efficient as I was last year, and I'm working on it. I'm absolutely putting everything I can into being that type of guy that I was last year as well and building on that.